Tesla took a nasty tumble. Today, I want to talk about Tesla, why it took this tumble, what my thoughts are, why I think investors are overreacting, and would I buy this stock myself right now. So we're going to cover Tesla. Before I get started, if you're new to my channel, I'm somebody that is very transparent. I want to be able to say that I'm showing you guys my actual portfolio performance. I don't want to hide anything that is negative and only promote the good. You're going to see all of it on this channel. So if you like that type of transparency, be sure to subscribe and give it a shot. I also provide diverse financial topics, but I do focus more heavily on investing. So with that said, let's get started with the transparency and look at my portfolio performance. We will see here that I am down about 8%. Just a few days ago, last week, I ended a little over 10% in the red. So there's been some improvement in my portfolio. Amazon was one I was really wanting to buy, but it kind of popped back into the green. But we'll see what happens this week. As we know, we can have one good green day and then the rest of the week is red. So we'll just see. Anything in purple is the allocation by market value of my portfolio. So if you have any questions, please let me know. But let's talk about Tesla. Here is their one-day drop. They went down 8.61% today. This is October 3rd. They're starting off the week bad. And if we take that out year to date, they're down almost 40%. So it does not look good for Tesla. Now, what's causing this drop today? Well, it really is that they came out and said they missed their delivery target for third quarter of their vehicles. And so investors are reacting to this. And as we know, investors and the stock market will react massively to any type of news before they are able to wrap their head around it. So third quarter deliveries for Tesla came in at 343,830 versus the estimate of about 358,000. Some estimates were a little higher, but this created about a 14 to 15,000 miss. So that's what is being caused for panic right now. And a lot of people are worried about the logistics and demand with this company. But I'm now going to put those fears to rest because I read some articles, I went through some data, and I don't think what happened today is a red flag or anything that should be causing this sell-off. So Tesla said it had a much higher number than usual of cars in transit at the end of the quarter as the company transitioned to a more even regional mix of vehicle builds. So they just opened 2 new plants, one in Texas and one in Germany, and then they have the OG plant in Shanghai, China. So what they're doing is they're kind of transitioning production around. So for example, the Germany plant is now servicing Europe where the Shanghai plant was doing that before. So this is creating some of those cars in transit, which means they're not being delivered, which caused them to miss that estimate. Now Tesla produced 366,000 vehicles at the end of this quarter. And if all those vehicles were delivered, there would not have been a miss. And in fact, I want to put this up for reference. This states that total production increased from prior quarter of 2022 when the company said it made 258,000 vehicles. Tesla produced 19,935 of its more expensive Model S and X vehicles and 346,000 of its more popular Model 3 and Y vehicles during third quarter. So production is increasing as we can see here, and that is a great thing that a company is doing like Tesla. That's what you want to see as an investor. Tesla is selling all the cars that it makes. So that is fantastic. But due to many difficulties in China, some of those buys did not materialize. So those cars were shipped overseas to other buyers. Basically, in China, they're having some issues now. So Tesla came around and said, we'll offer a price cut for you guys. But there's still some buys that didn't materialize. They were able to easily shift those cars to other buyers. That to me is a great sign. The demand is there regardless of what happens. So that's another good thing. So I think that investors are misunderstanding this issue, and I don't think it's really an issue at all. And so sending this stock down massively today could be creating a buying opportunity if you're bullish on Tesla. Now, the cash and margins of this company are still expected to be very strong. And also Tesla does other cool things. They have robotics and AI portions of their business. In fact, they just released an Optimus Bot. This is really cool. It's kind of super fascinating, a little scary, but I want to show you this video real quick. It's really cool, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. So what do you think of that? I think this is really cool. And what they made this robot for is to create something that can take over mundane tasks that humans do. So think of cleaning your house or some of those jobs at restaurants or other businesses that humans might not want to do, the robots can now take over. So yes, this could take over some jobs in the future, but I think it will be a huge benefit and also opportunity for Tesla to have some massive growth in this area in the future. So there's still a long-term shift to electric vehicles. We're still in the beginning stages of this transfer over from gas to electric vehicles. So there's still some huge growth and profit potential for Tesla in the future. And I have no doubt they're going to continue being one of the top market share companies when it comes to electric vehicles. And that's just something we have to keep in mind. They also have global manufacturing expansion that they've done. They've opened in Texas, in Germany, and then they have their China plant. So what I think that does is that gives them a larger future global footprint of their company to expand further beyond what they could have before. So that's preparing them for future growth and being able to fulfill that. With all that good, you also have to consider risks. So I sat down and thought about this, and these are the risks I came up with Tesla. All other vehicle manufacturing companies are going fully electric, or at least mostly electric. And before this, Tesla was really in its own boat, in its own world. It really had no other big competitors, but now the competition is ramping up. So this is something, if you're a Tesla investor, you have to keep a close eye on. We have Ford, Volkswagen, that are doing great with their electric vehicle sales. And so we need to see how Tesla remains strong. What do they do to stay on top? They're still popular. I think they're still highly sought after and the #1 electric vehicle car maker, but now they're having to deal with competition like they haven't before. So that's a risk. Also, if the future shifts from electric vehicles either back to gas powered or some other alternative energy, that could be catastrophic for Tesla. I think this is a very small risk, but it's something you have to keep in mind. I also think their moat is pretty narrow, and also their ecosystem. It is growing, but I still think it's narrow. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Right now, I think you just have to be careful, but going forward, I do think that they can expand on this massively and have kind of a moat and ecosystem like even Apple someday. So something to consider and determine if that's what helps you buy or sell or be bearish or bullish. Before I move on, I missed out on one thing that I think is really cool about Tesla. Right now, they have satellites that are being repositioned to help provide internet access to Florida, who just went through an awful hurricane. And I think that's really neat. They did the same thing with Ukraine. So this is just showing their innovation and their potential growth paths in all these different areas in AI and robotics, solar. There's a lot of things that they could do. So where do analysts sit with Tesla? Well, it ranges anywhere from a low $150 per share to up to $400, and I'm sure we could find a range beyond that. And this just shows me that there's vast opinions on Tesla still. There's not, a group thought on this. There's so many individual thoughts that range so significantly that as an investor, it can make you dizzy because you're gonna have bearish and bullish cases that make great points, and they're going to be pulling you in both directions. So that's when you take yourself outside the box, outside the information, and just think about it for yourself for a moment and come up with your own thesis, your own pros, your own cons before you buy in or decide to average down or up your stake in Tesla. So where do I sit with Tesla? Well, every time I think about Tesla and possibly buying it, I feel like I've missed the boat or missed the electric vehicle, shall I say. And I think that they're definitely pricey. And so I try to always figure out their future, right? Their growth path. And I look at the risks, I look at the possible profit, revenue, futures of this company and their growth. And I always just come down to, I don't know. I'm undecided. I just feel like I might have missed the boat on Tesla where you could have got in at a very low price and it's going to provide you super awesome growth. Where right now, is it just going to provide me medium growth? And are there other companies that would be better for me? That's where I stand. So I really don't have a solid answer for you guys. I will say if they fall below 200, I'd highly consider buying them. That to me, I think would cause me to buy in. Right now, even with their drop of 40%, I'm still kind of on the fence. You know, they're 700 and some billion dollars in market value. That's still a huge company. And so when I probably see other things like the robotics and AI and other parts of their business really take off, maybe that's when I reevaluate and say, okay, I am pretty solid that they're going to succeed in these other areas, and now's the time to jump in. Or if they fall down to under $200 per share, that's giving me my level of safety, which I think we all have to consider, right? At what level would you buy in and consider that giving you a safety cushion where most likely they'll go up from there long term instead of down? So these are my thoughts on Tesla. I'd be very anxious to hear your thoughts, especially if you're a Tesla holder. What you thought of this news, if you think it's a big deal or not. I don't think it is. I think it's being misunderstood. And also, what do you think the future of Tesla looks like? Do you think they will continue to grow massively and buying in right now will prove to be a huge win? Or do you think they are kind of overvalued and the future growth will be, so-so? It won't be bad, it won't be great, but it'll be there. Or do you think this company's headed for disaster? I'd like to hear all your thoughts on Tesla. I really appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Mark Arnold's Finance. Have a great day.